Hey guys, Ken here. Wanted to give you an update after yesterday's marathon session. Yesterday we did a lot of preparation for LED wire harnesses and then cut Whitewood 3. I woke up this morning like it was Christmas Day, so ready to get in here, investigate this, put some inserts in dryly, and just see how things look. And boy, was I severely disappointed. We're not going to call this a fail. There's a lot of learning moments here. First thing, I guess a little preface. Up until now, for Whitewoods 1 and 2 and all of my test boards, I've used a 3-ply generic sanded plywood from Home Depot. I decided Whitewood number 3 should get a little bit of an upgrade to Home Depot birch that is still, I think, only 5-ply. But a big difference that I noticed on this, and I think I mentioned it last night, and I didn't know the extent of it today, tear out. I don't know if it's the thin veneer on top or my bit, but I've literally got unacceptable tear out absolutely all over this playfield. Try to show most of it. Of note, I'm using a 1/8 inch spiral upcut flat end mill bit. I'm considering ordering some down cut bits. I'm just worried that I'm not going to have enough material ejection from the hole. I'm curious what other people with CNC machines are using to solve that. But I did rush out this morning, went straight to Lowe's, picked up 2 new boards of maple ply. I remember reading somewhere in the last couple weeks somebody had mentioned Lowe's has really decent maple ply for playfield iterations while you're developing, if you don't want to buy the super expensive stuff. It also mentioned there were 7-ply. My Lowe's only had 5-ply maple, but I got 2 of those. So we're going to be okay. So the next thing I noticed, I dropped my inserts in, and we just spent literally months doing insert test cuts to get them perfectly installed and flush. And every single one of these is sitting about 0.05 inches proud of the playfield. Not happy about that. I did solve it though. We'll get to that in a minute. Next obvious thing I noticed, the big pulse cut out here. Hard to see on video. So we have a ledge for the insert, and then there should be a through cut. Well, there's no ledge on this side, and the ledge is supposed to be 1/8 of an inch wide, and it's a 1/4 inch wide over here. That had me a little bit curious. Probably racked my brain for a few hours. Got that figured out too. What other major issues did we have? Oh, we'll get to the other major issue in a minute. So, the pulse insert, while I'm thinking about this, I got to thinking about what I did differently. So, if you go to the inserts, you have a ledge cut, which is operation 7 of 10 in my build. And then you do the through cut, which is operation 8, still pocket ops. And then we jump into 2D contour ops with tabs, which I do for my trough, and I did that for the insert of pulse. I look at most of my inserts, and they looked good, but I got to thinking Operation 1 is also new, and that is all of these screw holes that go through from my side and back rails. That's the very first thing that happens in this, and the very last thing is the perimeter cut of the entire playfield. I don't know why I didn't notice up front, but there is a distinct difference between where they were cut. They're designed to be 0.25 inches away from the edge. We're off by 1/8 of an inch. So somewhere in this process, my CNC machine drifted by 1/8 of an inch, specifically to the left. It happened during Operation 8 is what I can, if I go back through in the order they were all cut, I can see somewhere in there it started drifting, and I remember thinking yesterday while watching it cut those that, damn, that's cutting aggressive. Meanwhile, my insert test board, it was very conservative to the point like, please hurry up. Please, please, please. So I need to go back and compare my feeds and speeds on that op and find a happy medium. I think that it was just so aggressive that it caused Gerald to miss a few steps as it was going, which threw it off ultimately by 1/8 of an inch in the end. Can't say problem solved. It's going to take another playfield cut to test that. So the next thing I thought, let's not waste this board. Let's validate calibration and placement and that mechs are going to fit and this and that. Took a look. Doesn't fit. Okay, so we got another problem. And these are the easiest ones to validate because these holes for the Vooks are designed at 1.5 by 1.5 inches. Put a ruler on them. I was showing about 3/16 of an inch shy. Just too short. Calipers were a little bit closer, but that's still a problem. So we start guessing calibration of the CNC. Why is it designed at 1.5 but cutting at 1.42, I think is what I was measuring. Vooks specifically caliper out at 1.46. Start thinking about the ramifications of this, and holy hell, everything I've done to my inserts, if I go and recalibrate the steps per minute of my CNC machine, is going to change everything on this playfield and delay me multiple weeks. I got smart and I said, well, let's think about something really important. Is that because I remember when I calibrated my machine last year, I was immeasurable under 0.5 millimeters. So I thought it was weird to question that at first, but I said, let's check the playfield. The playfield is designed at 20.25 inches wide by 45 inches long. Flip tape measure on it, dead nuts, 20.25 by 45. So we start looking into the cam process, and this is something to note for critical measurements if you're setting them up, and most of you guys might even know this already. Under the passes tab in your Pocket Ops, there's an option, and I don't know if it's just standard checked or if it's something I did a while ago, but it has a section called stock to leave, and mine was checked and set at 0.5 millimeters. So what that means is that the CNC bit is going to try to cut this hole, but it's going to stop 0.5 millimeters away from each edge. So now you have a delta of 1 millimeter across the entire body. So for anything critical that you need cut to a specific size, keep an eye out for that. I don't think I explained what I figured out with the inserts. So since Whitewood number 1, my generic bottom third model, I've had this shooter lane, recessed shooter lane, that I've been cut. And under heights, on bottom height, for some reason in the past, I've always used bottom height, stock top, minus some number, I don't remember the number, 0.415 or something, whatever it is. So when I developed my insert cuts in this model, I initially thought, hey, shooter lane is just like the ledges of the inserts. Let's just duplicate, or actually added them to the shooter lane to begin with. And then I realized that was a bad idea when I was reanalyzing my bottom heights. And so I said, this was already working. That gets to be its own standalone operation. This one, in the insert test, we always use bottom height, select contour, offset 0. And that's where I get my 0.272 inch depth that seems to work fine in CAD and gets me to the right heights. They're flushed. So when I opened my model this morning, I remember I had this conversation with an engineer last week too. I could have sworn I changed that on this operation, but it didn't. And if you run the math and the numbers, that's where I'm getting my 0.05 inch elevation. So anyway, I've got a couple things to fix on this. I think we talked about all the problems: the tear out, insert heights, dimensions on everything, and the CNC drift somewhere in Operation 8. So I'm confident everything is fixed with the exception of the drift. And I think that just comes down to testing and see what happens. And the tear out, like I said, I don't know if I just need a different type of bit. I'm just scared to go to a downcut bit because I think it's going to stuff all these holes and cause more drift and problems. So I like the idea of an upcut bit, but if it's going to be doing tear out all over the place, there's probably going to be a problem. So luckily I bought 2 more sheets of maple. And obviously Whitewood number 3 is going to become a data point, but it was a very useful data point in this project. So I'm not going to populate anything. There will be no mechs installed on it, no wires installed on it, nothing. It's going into the pile, and I think we're going to fix everything in our model in the chem process, and then run a maple sheet, which is another variable because now we're using a different type of wood. Not using generic, we're not using birch, now we're going to maple. But I'm very confident that most of my heights and sizes are going to be fixed. So if I still have tear out, we'll address that one on that. Before we go on to Whitewood number 5. So next will be Whitewood number 4. It's only 11:30 before noon. I can make these changes in Fusion probably within 20 minutes. Maybe I'll cut a piece of maple today. Although I think I'm going to address my spoil board too. I just noticed something weird on my spoil board, and I might replace it and then have to do a whole surfacing op. So that might be this afternoon. Then maybe we'll cut Whitewood number 4 tomorrow and pray to God that when we start putting gluing inserts in and get to repopulating and put mechs back in. So anyway, hopefully that explains some stuff, and hopefully you guys learned something from it. I learned way too much today, unfortunately. But maybe I'll just go take a nap instead. My brain hurts. So till next time, we'll chat later. Have a good one.